Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. In today's video I have a real-time sketchbook session for you all, and I invite you to grab your favourite art supplies and sketch or paint along with me, or you can just pop me on in the background. Today I'm working in a Strathmore mixed media 500 series sketchbook. It's the hardcover version. They have a soft cover and a hardcover, and it is the roughly A5 size. And it's my first time using one of these sketchbooks. I managed to pick them up on sale recently, and they've been on my wish list for a while though, because quite a few different artists use them and recommend them, and one of my art friends recently picked one up and she's been enjoying it quite a lot. So I have been diving in with many different kinds of media recently to try out the paper, because it's 100% cotton, which is really interesting for if you like to sketch in watercolor. But I've been finding some interesting things out about this paper as I've been using it more and more. There's positives and there's negatives to it, so I might do a video on that in the future. I might either do a watercolor sketchbook session or maybe like a first impressions review of the sketchbook. Let me know what you'd be interested in the comments. For the materials I'm using today though, I am using a Bic 4-in-1 ballpoint pen in the Fun Colours variety, and the Fun Colours version has purple, pink, light blue and light green, and I'm using the purple for this. And I'm using it on top of a pencil sketch, and I'll get into the reason why in a minute. If you've watched some of my portrait drawing videos recently, I do sometimes sketch straight in ballpoint pen with no undersketch, but sometimes I do use an undersketch, and I'm going to get into why for this particular sketchbook spread I did use an undersketch in a minute. So I'm using a purple ballpoint for this, and a really nice thing about ballpoint pen is that it doesn't bleed with water-based media if you use it on top, like watercolors, or in the case of this sketchbook spread, I'm using a Tombow ABT marker, which is the water-based version of the really long, really long Tombow markers. And the colour I'm using is, I don't remember the exact colour name, but the number I have in front of me, it's 620. And I think it's something like purple sage. I know that sage is in the name for it. And the cap is actually a lot lighter than the purple that comes out. The purple that comes out you can see in the top left corner, because you can see the first page of these that I did. But it's still working out really great for me. I also have a darker marker, the Periwinkle, which is 603. And I only have 3 Tombow markers, and they're all different shades of purple, so that I can do like monotone studies, but in a slightly more fun version in one of my favourite colours. Purple is one of my favourite colours, if you can maybe tell from how much purple I use everywhere. And that's kind of why I just used it for this sketchbook spread. I just wanted to have a bit of fun while studying, because this sketchbook spread is a study session for one of my art goals for the year. If you've seen my 2023 art goals video, I outlined in there that one of my goals for the year is to improve at animal drawing, and one of the sub goals of that is to work on more and improve at animal poses, and especially for the big cats. I spent quite a lot of time last year studying big cats and learning how to simplify their forms, and then also learning basic anatomy, taking some courses on drawing big cats. And so I have a base level understanding of them that I can now springboard off and improve even further at drawing them. And so one of my really big goals for this year is to get really comfortable with drawing any part of a big cat, especially doing full body poses and different angles and different expressive actions and things like that. So this spread was specifically studying the mountain lion, and I did these from observation and with the goal in mind of studying. That's one reason why I went in with a pencil sketch first and then went in with a ballpoint pen rather than going in with a ballpoint pen first, because I'm less used to doing full body poses for big cats in comparison to, say, doing portraits that I've done in previous videos where I go straight in with ballpoint pen. But a large reason why I went in with a pencil first rather than the ballpoint totally for this was just because that's what I felt like doing for this session. Sometimes I feel like doing an under sketch, sometimes I feel like not. And this time I just felt like doing pencil first, so that's how we ended up with this sketchbook page. And I love how some of the poses came out, and I do feel like I am gradually improving at them. I recently got a book on drawing cats. Let me see if I can find it. It is the Weatherly Guide to Drawing Cats, written and illustrated. I'm reading this from across the room. Written and illustrated by Joe Weatherly, and it's all about big and small cats. And I've been slowly going through it and now studying from it. I only received it a couple days ago, and I've been studying from it and learning from it slowly and digesting it because it's very information and picture dense. There's so many different pictures, which is amazing for studying as an artist, and it covers a wide variety of big cats and then small and domestic cats as well. And at the moment I've been going through the lion, the African lion section, and the domestic cats section, because I want to draw my own cats from life more in order to improve both my cat anatomy and also to just improve my animal drawing and observation drawing in general. So I want to really start to dive more into domestic and smaller cat anatomy and simplified forms as well. And another reason why I went with the materials I did for this sketchbook session was also to test out how the markers would work on this paper. Because this paper is cotton paper, I wondered if the water-based markers would blend a little bit better than they do on other kinds of paper. Because if you've used water-based markers before, they usually dry very, very quickly, and so when you go over an area or you try to do something quite elaborate or fill in a large area, it usually gets quite streaky and can build up lines in areas you don't necessarily want it to, compared to alcohol markers, which produce a lot smoother results, which is why a lot of people tend to go for the alcohol markers instead. And I wondered how well the water-based markers would act on this paper with it being cotton. And I will say I did notice that it did come out smoother than other forms of paper that I've used before. I have been using these markers in some of my other sketchbooks, like my Stillman and Byrne Alpha and my art creation sketchbooks. And I will say that when I'm using the art creation one, I generally do my really rough studying in there, and it's also my rough sketchbook for coming up with ideas and just winding down, and I don't show it to people. And I've been doing gesture studies using these markers in my art creation sketchbook by using the fine liner end mainly, and I've been really enjoying that, using the fine liner end of these for gesture studies, especially drawing animals that are moving kinds of gesture studies. And that's been something that I've also been doing as part of my animal drawing improving arc for this year, is drawing moving animals. And I'm wording it in that way because it includes drawing animals from life and then also drawing animals from video that you do not pause. And I've been doing this after I did a course by David Coleman that's available on the Creature Art Teacher website, which I believe is called Drawing from Life. And he recommends in that to do these like gesture and pose studies from moving video and not pausing. And it allows you to then study from the comfort of your own home. It allows you to get loads and loads of pen mileage in and comfort in drawing moving animals, so that you can then, when you have that one trip out to the zoo that might be a once a year thing for you, you have a little bit more experience under your belt to take advantage of your time there, because it's not really a an easy thing for me to do, going to the zoo that frequently where I am. Though I am planning in a couple months to maybe go to a big cat sanctuary. They are a non-profit organisation that houses rescued big cats that are from things like illegal breeding systems and illegal being kept illegally as pets, and they were rescued and now they're housed in this non-profit organisation. So it's not a zoo, but they do tours around the place. So I'm thinking of maybe going there and on a guided tour, just trying to get some quick sketches in, and we shall see if that ends up going ahead or not. But that's a potential thing on the horizon. And it's also in part to help me with drawing animals in life too, like my cats. So I have been drawing my cats from life and doing such drawings in a permanent medium, so ballpoint pen, these markers on the fine liner end, and just straight like micron pen and things like that, and brush pen, just pen in general has definitely helped with the gesture studies, because you have to really get over the idea of making a pretty sketch, because that is not the point of them. And one of the easiest ways to do that and to not noodle over them is by using a permanent medium. But I do most of those in my rough studying sketchbook that I keep to myself, just so that I'm not worried about other people seeing it, for now anyway. And yeah, so that's some of the things on the horizon for me. I am also planning on doing an animal drawing course for either horses or bears next. I've started both of them just to see which one I feel like doing next, so we'll see which one I feel like doing. But for now, I'm just keeping on with the cats, and probably mainly going to focus on studying from the book that I got recently. So some of the other things I've been up to lately, I have been some video game updates. So if you've seen some of my other videos, some of my biggest inspirations are video games. Video games aren't just a really important hobby for me, but they're also a big source of inspiration creatively, and for the storytelling, the game design, the environment design, character design, all of that lovely stuff are wells of inspiration for me, as well as being an important hobby in general, and also a way that I socialize quite a bit with my friends. And some of the games I've been playing recently, I downloaded Honkai Star Rail on my phone yesterday, so I've been playing that a little bit. And if you know anything about Honkai Star Rail, don't worry, I'm playing free to play. I do not pull for money on gacha games, and I completely understand that some people don't deal with the FOMO of gacha games well at all, and I have to be really careful with them. So my rule is if I play them, I have to play them free to play. So, and that's true of most games. If a game is a free to play game, my rule is to just play it free to play, because it is so easy to fall down a hole with it. But of course, that's each to their own. This is just what I have found best for me and what I enjoy from these games the most. And gaming is all preference based. We all have our different preferences. And I've been enjoying it so far for my first, I guess this is my second day now since I downloaded it yesterday. And I've been really enjoying it. I got Bronya from the starter banner, and I am currently on the ice world. I don't know if that's considered the first world or the second world. I don't know if where you start is considered the first world or not, but I'm currently on the ice world. I just got there, and yeah, I've been really enjoying it. It's been nice to play something turn-based and to have a different turn-based combat system, and yeah, we'll see how it goes, and if I end up enjoying the day-to-day grind of it once I get past the main story, because I did enjoy Genshin for a while, but I ended up dropping it once I got to, I think I got to rank 55 or 56, something like that, and I ended up dropping it, and that was before, it was shortly after the Ice Mountain came out, and I wasn't enjoying the daily grind anymore, so I dropped the game. And what else have I been doing recently with gaming? Oh, in Final Fantasy XIV, which I've mentioned before, I raid for Final Fantasy XIV, and the new raid tier is coming out in 2 weeks from today. Yeah, 2 weeks from today. Next week on Tuesday, there's going to be the new patch. So there's going to be a new story, the new main story. There's going to be a new extreme trial, and there's going to be new normal raids, and then a week later there's going to be the savage versions of those normal raids. And I am planning on raiding again, and I'm probably going to stick on Scholar, since I tend to play healers each tier, and I tend to go for the mid healers. And so far I've done Scholar for kind of every tier. There was one tier a few years ago where I did Shield Ast for half of it, and then I did Scholar for the other half of it. But I do enjoy Sage as well. It's just Scholar's my baby at this point, and I do play. I play all 4 of the healers pretty equally, but Ast a lot less this expansion. There's 4 healers in the game at the moment, and Ast just isn't. Astrologian isn't as enjoyable for me anymore. But I've been really enjoying Sage and Scholar. I feel like both of them are in a really nice place at the moment, and I've dabbled with both of them in different environments as well. Like I've done some of Ukob on Sage, and yeah, so I've got all of that to look forward to, which is fun for me. If you play video games, let me know what you've been up to recently in the comments. I enjoy a few different kinds of video games. I like MMOs, but I generally only play one MMO at a time, and for the last 4 years now, wow, the last 4 years I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV, and I play some turn-based games. I really like sim games. Like I like Stardew Valley, and I like Animal Crossing, and Monster Hunter. I really like Monster Hunter. There's a few different games I like actually. Oh, I recently picked up Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I know Tears of the Kingdom just came out, and Breath of the Wild has been on my to be played list for so long. So I managed to pick it up on sale, and that's going to be played at some point soon, because I'm mainly focused on a couple other games at the moment. I only tend to play a couple games at a time just because of time restrictions. Because if you're trying to study, if you're trying to self-learn arts, you need to like both balance. You need to make sure you're having enough time studying, enough time creating on your personal projects, just chill sketchbooking, personal projects, personal paintings, and the creativity aspect, and then also enough time on the studying, but then also make sure that you're doing the other things that you need to do, like socializing, your hobbies and things like that, because if you go too hard you can burn out. So it's all a balancing game, and then yeah, managing your energy on top of that. It's fun. It's a constant learning experience. But video games is pretty much my main way of socializing with my friends, both friends that I have online and then also friends in IRL. It was a really, really big part of like all of the lockdown and everything. It was the main way that we could still socialize. And I've met quite a lot of friends through Final Fantasy especially. A lot of us have moved on to various aspects of the game now, but a lot of us still meet up to do different things in the game at various levels and content difficulty and everything. And yeah, I've also really, really had the urge to either play maybe a new farm of Stardew Valley. I've not played it in quite a while now, and I think there's a new update patch that's either coming out soon or it might have just come out. So maybe I'll play a new farm on there. But I've got the new Final Fantasy patch coming, so we'll see. We'll see how it ends up. Like a lot of gamers will know, the backlog gets wild very, very quickly because there's so many games that you might want to try, but there's only so much time you have. And yeah, it's all fun though. I'm not sure if they've released the art books for the current expansion yet. They might have done for the first half of the expansion. I need to check. I have the art books for both art books for Stormblood expansion and then one art book for the Shadowbringers expansion, which I think is the first of the two. And I did a video on them a little while back. If you're interested in checking that out, it was on art books that inspire me, Final Fantasy 14 edition or something like that. And it's been nice having them in order to not just study from, but be inspired by. Sometimes some of the things that you gather are either for inspiration, or they're for learning, or they're for studying. So I have a few different art books for different reasons, and like there's some art books I have from artists that aren't necessarily anything like my style, but I find them very, very inspiring just to look at, and they kind of just regenerate my creative well, if that makes sense. And maybe I'll do an art book shelf tour at some point so you can see my different art books. We shall see. I have so many ideas for YouTube videos at the moment. I've been keeping a little notepad, an electronic notepad I should say, of different video ideas, but I welcome suggestions in the comments as well. If there's anything I say or mention, or any supplies I'm using or anything like that that you'd like to know more about or have their own video for, or if you have any topics you'd like me to do or anything like that, let me know in the comments, because I value what you enjoy watching as well as what I enjoy creating as well. And I think one video I might do soon is actually properly reviewing pros and cons and everything, the art creation sketchbook, because I use it a lot for my general sketching. I use it for my rough sketchbooks. I use it for some of my travel sketchbooking sometimes. And I've used them for a few different things, but mainly for studying. And I've filled 5 now, I think 5 or 6 actually, if you're including the smaller one. Regardless, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how they do and don't handle different mediums now, and their strengths and weaknesses, pros, cons, however you want to put it, what they definitely can't handle, what they do okay with, and what they excel at, and everything like that. And they've become more and more popular recently with a lot of different big YouTubers and Instagram creators using them. I've noticed a lot more people are using them now, so I wonder if a review might be in order to help some of you out in figuring out if it might be the right sketchbook for you. Sketchbooks, a lot like most things in art, are down to a person's preferences and needs. So I know I definitely like to research products and materials and paper and everything before I decide if it might be a good fit for me or not. And I know when I first started using these sketchbooks, there weren't that many resources reviewing them in detail. So maybe I might do that next. If you have any questions specifically about the art creation paper, let me know as well. I know a few people in the past have asked me questions about how well it handles watercolor in comparison to the Moleskine sketchbook. So I might go over that a little bit because I have sketchbooks full of different mediums that I can show you exactly how it looks. So yeah, we'll see about doing that maybe. And I can always do sketchbook sessions like these as well of various lengths. I know some of you love the longer videos like these, the longer chatty ones. Some of you like the long videos like this without me talking and you just want the sounds. And then some of you want shorter time-lapsed versions as well. So I enjoy doing different kinds of content, so I'm definitely gonna not just stick to one kind. That there should always be some sketchbook sessions depending on what you like. Though I'm sure the people that want 10-minute videos probably aren't nearly half an hour into this video for them to hear me say that, but I'm gonna say this into the void anyway. And for all of you long length and enjoyers, I will also be doing shorter length sketchbook videos alongside these ones. And thank you everyone who responded to my recent poll for the video lengths you like. The vast majority of you, half of the people who voted, said that they prefer both types. So I hear you on that and I appreciate you on that because I enjoy doing both of them as well. So I will definitely keep doing a mixture of these long ones and short ones as well. And I will also say for all of you still here 30 minutes in, that after the 50% who liked both, nearly 40% wanted full length. So you guys rock if you're still here. And you also voted for full length. The big cat that you're seeing me draw now is probably my favorite pose out of the whole spread. Not necessarily because of how it came out, but just because it was a really fun one to draw. The foreshortening was interesting on it. The clustering of the paws and then also how the back paws are going out at an angle. It was just a really fun pose. And that's the main reason why I enjoyed this one so much and like it so much. I did get a comment on the Instagram post that I did for this spread where someone liked the top pose on this page the most. And that was an interesting one too, but this one was the most fun for me. And I've also been working on some other big cats personal projects recently. I have been playing around with an idea for an illustration of one of my cats, who is not a big cat. She is in fact she's a small big cat. No, she's a tuxedo cat, and I'm planning on doing an illustration for her, and I'm thumbnailing it out at the moment and seeing what I potentially want to do for it. I also have an idea for an illustration with a mountain lion after I did these poses, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do that digitally or if I want to do it in ink and watercolour. And if I'm going to do it in ink and watercolour, I'm probably going to do it on loose leaf paper because I plan on it being quite large, at least A4, and I don't have any A4 watercolour sketchbooks at the moment, just A5. And I feel like that would be too small for that particular illustration I have planned. Speaking of illustrations I've been doing as well, I've been participating a little bit in Mermay. You might have seen one of the shorts I did recently. I think it was last week on either Friday or Saturday. I put up a time lapse on YouTube Shorts of one of the mermaids that I've done for Mermay. I have done 2 digitally so far, and I have another planned that I'm probably going to do in ink and watercolour, and I might do it in the sketchbook, so I might film it for YouTube, and then I can do like a mermaid video slash telling you what I think about watercolour in the sketchbook, because it's been an interesting experience. There are positives and negatives, and it's mainly to do with the fact that yes, it has cotton paper, but the sizing is very, very interesting in the sketchbook, and it's had some interesting effects when painting with watercolour because of it. And I've also been doing gouache in the sketchbook as well, so I can let you all know how I've been finding gouache in here as well. Spoilers, gouache has been amazing in the sketchbook. Gouache has been lovely in the sketchbook, but watercolour has been interesting. And comparing it to other cotton papers, not comparing it to non-cotton paper, the sizing in this sketchbook is very interesting in how fast the pigment dries and how the pigment and the water does and doesn't soak in to the paper or sit on the paper and things like that. So there's definitely some major differences I'm noticing in this paper in comparison to other cotton paper that I use, but it's still enjoyable for watercolour. There's just certain points that I want to raise and certain things that I've noticed that have come up that have had to shift my painting style a little bit around when I'm sketching. But I can talk about that in a watercolour video, maybe mermaid video. And back to the mermaid thing. I did one of the digital illustrations, the first one I did. So the first thing I did for Mermay entirely came about by accident because I was sketching in my sketchbook some different sea creatures, and then I started thumbnailing ideas for Mermay. So I did like a little research thing. I looked up loads of inspiring sea creatures and then different things from the ocean that were inspiring for the colour palette or the textures and all sorts. And then I did a bunch of studies of different sea creatures to come up with ideas for shape design and elements of the tail and things like that. And then I closed my sketchbook and I immediately opened Clip Studio Paint and I started an illustration that had nothing to do with anything I did in my sketchbook, and I did the illustration entirely for fun. I just felt like opening up Clip Studio, and I was really inspired, and I just decided to do something entirely for fun, and I had no intention of posting this anywhere or anything when I was making it. It was just like a pure art joy moment, essentially. And I was just playing around, and I was following loads and loads of what ifs. I was following a what if the mermaid was like this? What if it was a deep sea mermaid? What if I did the sketch in white lines on a black background? What if I did this? What if I did the line art like this? And I just kept following all of these what ifs that came in my head, purely because I was just doing it for fun. And I wasn't thinking about it in a serious, quote unquote, serious way or anything like that. And I haven't posted that one yet. I don't know if I'm going to post it. I might. But the second one that I ended up doing was the one that I posted last week, which is the octopus mermaid. And that one was a really interesting and fun one to do just because of the tentacles. I had to play around with the idea of the gesture of them alongside the gesture of the figure, and then the idea of weightlessness and weight. And I had to deal with complexity balanced with simplicity quite a lot, because the first few sketches I did, I clumped some of the tentacles too close together, and then it ended up just looking really complex there, so I had to move the tentacles around to figure out how to balance that complexity and that simplicity. And I like the result. I'm still, again, figuring out how I want to do stuff in digital, and the best way for me to figure that out is by doing illustrations alongside studying and everything as well. So Mermay's been really, really fun for that, and it's been inspiring my sketchbook sessions as well. I've been doing loads and loads of doodles of just random mer people, mermaids, mermen, sea creatures, sea monsters, and sea creature portraits, and all sorts of different things have been coming out in my imaginary work, in my imagination work. When I'm just sat down with a pen or a pencil and I'm just sketchbooking from my imagination, a lot of Mermay stuff has been coming out recently, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot less, I don't know if stressful is the right word, but a few art challenges can be really, really fun at first and then get quite intimidating and stressful the further you get into it. And this is my first time doing Mermay, and I decided that I was just going to do it casually going into it this year. I might do the full challenge in the future, maybe, but it's been very, very fun for me at the moment to just do as many as I want when I want. And I've noticed massive gains in my creativity because of that approach as well, with how it's not just affected my inspirations for illustrations but also in my sketchbooking as well. So it's been interesting to see how art challenges have affected me in that way recently. Speaking of art challenges, I've been thinking about what I might want to do for Inktober this year, and I'm still not super sure on it yet. I do have some plans. I definitely still want to come out with a prompt list because I feel like that was really, really fun last year, and it was really, really just, it was so much joy to see everyone joining in every day. I don't know if I'm going to do a daily one or like an optional weekly daily one or just a weekly one this year, but I do definitely want to do something. At the very least, I want to do something because that community aspect was so much fun and so rewarding, and it was amazing seeing what people were coming up with for them. And we're nearing the end of the sketchbook session now that I'm looking at the footage. This is the last one. So it's probably best that I don't go off onto an adventure of a conversation since there's not going to be too much time left. So I'm probably going to go over some of the other illustration ideas I've got recently. I have been, whenever I come up with an idea, because at the moment I'm at a point where I'm coming up with so many ideas, like different things will pop into my head, or I'll be listening to music and I just think of all these stories and things that I want to do, because music is a massive inspiration for me as well. I've had so many ideas that it's very difficult to know what to do next. So I've been trying to make sure that I keep track of all of the ideas I'm having, whether they're stories, illustrations, paintings, sketches, whatever. I've been trying to keep track of them either by getting down a really, really quick thumbnail or by writing it down, actually just straight up writing it down, or doing a full sketchbook session for it if I have time. Just making sure that I record it somehow, because I have found in the past when I really need something to do, like I know that I want to do something and nothing's immediately popping into my head, I find a lot of inspiration looking back through my sketchbook and then seeing all the different thumbnails I have, and then I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. Even if it's just for a sketchbook page, or it's just to sketch out an idea, a rough idea or anything, or if it might be for a full illustration or whatever. It's just nice having that record of all these different ideas. So that's, I'm definitely in a coming up with ideas moment at this point in time. So my sketchbooks are full of thumbnails and scribbled explanations and stories at the moment. Thank you so much for all of the support recently. It's been lovely reading all of your comments and chatting with you and seeing all the support with the new subscribers as well. I appreciate everyone who watches, and I will see you next time. Bye!